"Fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that the nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note, nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what we did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work, which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from those honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from this earth." If you maybe passed 6th grade history class, you might recognize that as the Gettysburg Address, one of the most famous presidential orations in United States history. It is by our 16th president, Abraham Lincoln. And Abraham Lincoln, who, by the way, didn't have a middle name, he not only changed the landscape of not just American politics, but worldwide politics. He changed American culture and culture worldwide. And he had this incredible influence on not only American politics, but on humanitarianism. And if you want to watch a video about that, this is not the right video for you to be watching, because this video is going to be about just what a bananas guy Abraham Lincoln was. That's just all I want to talk about. I just want to talk about, like, what a weird person he was. And what a weird person his wife was, Mary Todd Lincoln. And how they are my greatest ship of people who actually, I think, existed. And we'll get more to them in a minute. But yeah, that's what this video is about. Like, this is just going to be a super fun video about how weird Abraham Lincoln was. Like just what a weird individual he was. Like, that's what this video is about. So, get out your stovepipe hat. Get out your favorite mid-1800s snack, like popcorn and milk or crackling bread. And let's dig in, guys. Here we go. This is our weird-ass tribute to Abraham and Mary Todd Lincoln. So, you might be asking me, Raccoons, why are you so interested in the weird life of our 16th president? I mean, you are more interested in things like, I don't know, fictional FBI agents and shows made for 5-year-olds. And to that I say, Abraham Lincoln and Mary Todd Lincoln was the United States Gomez and Morticia. I called them the 19th century Obamas, and I will defend that in a minute. But they were such a high profile couple, and they were the kind of people, both separately and together, where there was just all this weird shit just orbiting around them. And they could not separate their lives from this entanglement of bizarreness. And I'll get into some of that. And what does Agent Dale Cooper say? Coincidence and luck figures largely into our fates. And I always think about that when I think about the life of the Lincolns. So when I was 6 years old, and this is the reason why I developed this hyperfixation around Abraham and Mary Todd Lincoln. When I was 6 years old, I fell asleep in the bathtub and I almost drowned. And my mom woke me with a scream, and I was terrified, but not because I had almost drowned. It was because I had awoken from the worst nightmare I had ever had, in which I lived the life of our 16th president, Abraham Lincoln. And at this point I was 6, and I only knew of Abraham Lincoln as like being on the $5 bill, and I loved money, so I knew that, like every 6-year-old. But as far as his life, like I had no idea, but I was having this dream where I was very reliving very specific moments in his life. He married Mary Todd Lincoln, he had his 4 children, he blah blah blah, and then he was assassinated. And I awoke from this dream just terrified, and instead of just being repulsed by anything to do with Abraham Lincoln, the autistic kid I just developed a raging hyperfixation about our 16th president. Now, I am not saying that I was the 16th president in a past life, but I am totally saying that I was the 16th president in a past life. That's a joke, by the way. I don't think I was. I hope I wasn't. But anyway, whether that was true or not, whether I am the 16th president incarnate, I did develop this weird hyperfixation about Abe's life. And I want to share some of the banana stuff that went on with this guy. So, the old song is true. Like, yes, Virginia, he was born in a little log cabin in Kentucky in 1809. And even his, birth has just such a bizarre stories tied to it. So, Abe, the famous song is he was born in a little log cabin in Kentucky, Lincoln Logs. I'm sure you played with them at some point. And he was born there. But then Illinois, of course, became the land of Lincoln, laying claim to him. But he spent most of his childhood, like another famous Aquarian, in Indiana, like Michael Jackson. It makes me think of the song Going Back to Indiana by Michael Jackson. Love Indiana. Beautiful state, by the way. Gave us some great things. So Abe spent most of his formative years in Indiana. And during that time, there was this thing going around called milk sickness. Now, during this time, the Midwest was kind of like the frontier. Okay, it was the Wild West. And a lot of the settlers were European or Scandinavian in descent. And so, milk was a huge food source for them. So during this time, just hundreds of people started dying from drinking tainted milk. And it came from the cows. During that time, people let their cows just kind of run wild in the forest. And then they would catch them when they wanted to milk them and so forth. My dad, his family was sharecroppers in Alabama during the Depression, and they did this as well, and you would just go hunt up the cow. Well, these cows got into white snake root plant, and it does not harm the cow exponentially, but the milk is poisoned, and it's completely undetectable. So it would just kill people. It'd poison them to death. And this is what happened to Abe's biological mother, Nancy. So his sister, Sarah, was left to raise him. And looking at his natal chart right here, you see he has his moon at 22 degrees in Capricorn in the 3rd house. The moon being the connection with the mother. His 11-year-old sister, he was 9 at that time, Sarah, the duties of the household fell to her, and the emotional labor of the family fell to her. So she was theoretically just raising her little brother. Now, during that time, Abe, well, several years passed, and then Abe's dad, who was kind of a bastard, just saying, okay? Sorry if you're a Abe Lincoln's dad's fan, but he was kind of a jerk, just saying. So, during that time, the custom of the day is you would send your strapping buck of a son off, and he would, your absurdly tall buck of a son off. Abe was 6'5". That is 3 inches taller than Fox Mulder. That's pretty lofty, man. That's crazy. And then he wore a stovepipe hat and heels to make himself bigger. That is such a Jimi Hendrix move. That is such an Aquarian thing to do. They're like, oh, my tallness offends you? Well, here, puts on heels and a stovepipe hat. And of course, Jimi Hendrix did that with his afro. Abe kept love letters from his girlfriends in his stovepipe hat. Like all his girlfriends. And bro had a lot of high quality girlfriends. We'll get into them in a minute. So, Abe's childhood, his dad would farm him out, and like Abe would work and his dad would pocket the cash. And Abe got really effing tired of this. But at that time, his dad remarried to a lovely woman named Sarah. And Sarah, along with his sister Sarah, wow, a lot of women in his lives named Sarah. So, they convinced him to stay around, and he had an excellent relationship with his elder sister and his stepmother. He called Sarah Lincoln Mama. You know, he was very close to her. He always relied on her for advice because he did not have that connection with his toxic ass dad. So at that time, he was a teenager and he was feeling very restless. And you see, as the 3rd house in his natal chart passes into the 4th house, you see his Chiron passing into Aquarius. He was feeling restless. And at that time, his sister hadn't wed and married, and she became pregnant, and she died in childbirth. And Lincoln was crushed. Now, was this connected to the milk sickness? I don't know. The milk sickness did ultimately make the Lincolns leave Indiana into Illinois. Just think of how different, not just American history, but world history would have been without the onset of milk sickness in Indiana at that time. Just saying, you know. Cows could overthrow us so easily. The Matrix had it right. Cows could just, if cows got it between their cute fuzzy little ears to overtake us, we'd be dead. We would be dead. So, the milk sickness, whether it was connected to the death of his sister in childbirth, childbirth was the leading cause of death at that time for women. Now, you think about all the diseases, all the terrible things that happened to people at that time. The leading cause of death was childbirth. It was a terrible danger. It is now, but during that time, people didn't even wash their damn hands, okay? So, poor Sarah died. I would love, I've done a lot of research over my lifetime. I'd like to find out more about Sarah Lincoln, his sister. She seemed cool. And she had to be gutsy just to, like, you know, absolutely raise her little brother in this frontier community. So, Abraham Lincoln's moon is at 22 degrees in Capricorn. That's the connection to the mother. His Chiron is at 11 degrees in Aquarius, as passing out of the house of siblings into the house of family and exploration into the world. And his Aquarius sun is so fitting here. Aquarians are so restless. Do you love the song? It's Rodeo. I love this song. This just brings back all the memories of road trips with me and my siblings. So then, into the 4th house of his natal chart, we see his Mercury, Pluto, and Jupiter in Pisces. And you put a big old stankin' pin in that, because we're going to get back to that in part 3. Y'all take it easy.